Hey, you all. Thomas Augustus here. I just wanted to come online and share my thoughts a little bit about this meeting of the school board on Monday, August 28th. A lot has happened and transpired since the wonderful day where 30 books ended up being removed because parents, grandparents, concerned citizens all came together and basically had to read the actual evidence to get any movement on getting these books out of the public school system. It's a shame because apparently that's not what was supposed to happen. If the processes were done right back in 2022, there would have been nothing necessary like the event that happened on August 28th, a year and a half later. It's truly amazing. This morning, I'm here speaking Wednesday evening. This morning, Peggy Jones, Dr. Jones, aka Doc Rushmore, was on Bob Seuss, and she said this.
The new state statute says if someone is reading the book and I stop them and the book comes off the shelf, and there are other ways too regarding this, but yes, there's some of them are still in the library. I'm having the team kind of look at it, you know, how many times they've been checked out, how many times or years they've been on the shelves, but it still doesn't matter. I believe most of them are still in the library, and I don't want to be quoted correctly on that because I'm getting several emails, but I believe most of them are still in the library. So that is correct.
But they won't be much longer, apparently.
No. And I talked to Dr. Moore about this, and the situation with the books and so forth, if we have the list and could kind of take a look at them to make sure that we get them off the shelves even before the situation. These were, I believe, challenged a couple of years ago. I think all of them were. And now with the new state statute and so forth, it's a law getting them off. So, yes, sir, we need to do that quickly and act quickly on that.
Now, I want you to catch that. She's talking about the law that was used, House Bill 1069, which basically gave us the ability to protest previously challenged materials in such a manner as reading them at the podium. We call it the podium test here at Moms for Liberty. And basically the podium test goes like this. If you go up to the podium and read the content, and the chair either gives you a content warning like she did on Monday night or shuts you down because it's so awful, that book has to be removed from the school library or libraries in which it resides immediately. They've got like 5 days. And so after parent and citizen and grandparent, there was a psychologist up there, Dr. Hillman. She was a counselor, counseled many women dealing with sexual abuse to bring them into healing, was reading a passage, and she had to stop and explain who she was, a licensed counselor, psychotherapist, and how this was just reading sexual abuse out loud, knowing it would have an effect on people in the room, let alone a kid all by themselves in the library. And she couldn't continue on because what she was seeing as she was reading was so perverse, it just upset her to no end because she's seen the devastation from what's in these books. And she just stopped. Truly, this was unnecessary. Why do I say that? I mean, right now, the school system is currently in litigation in a civil suit for violating sunshine laws regarding the book review process back in 2021-22. That resulted in a 4-1 vote on February 28th, 2022, where Peggy Jones, along with 3 other board members at the time, voted for these very books that were challenged on Monday night to be put back in the libraries. Now, she says in that interview there you just heard, HB 1069 makes these books illegal. That is not true. What makes them illegal is when we read them and exposed the evidence in them and they were stopped. HB 1069 says those books must be removed immediately. What she's doing is this. She's going to go through the list that was approved by her and 3 others, Brian Barefoot, Mara Schiff, Terry Berenborg, and herself, Doc Rushmore. And she's going to go back and look at all those books, start getting people to read them right away, and if they find content similar, they're going to pull them. And then said they did their due diligence. You see, back in the day, in February 2022, and before that, this all started in October 2021. So between October 2021 to February 2022, that's when Moms for Liberty here in Indian River challenged 156 books. 137 of them were actually for pornography. If you read the form that you had to fill out for the challenges, everyone quoted the law 1006.34. Has to do with instructional material. It coincides with 1006.40, which has to do with library material. In 40, library material is defined as instructional material as well. And all instructional material, number 1 requirement, there's 4 of them, but the number 1 requirement is free of pornography. If you go back and look at the paperwork that Jennifer Pippin, the chair of Moms for Liberty, filed, everyone said this book is not free of pornography and quoted the law. Now remember, when you go back and look at that whole case and the debate that took place at the school board in October, November, December, January, and then finally in February, and even into March, because there was fallout afterwards. The whole question was, are they age appropriate? Which is another thing that you can challenge. Moms for Liberty did not do that. We said, are these books free of pornography? And every bit of the pornographic content was cited. It was ISDN, how the library does its labeling and grouping. And, you know, we went through the system. Mostly Jennifer did. She went through the system and did all this. And they got all of the content. And as new ones came up, the first 69 of them or something, 70 of them, you know, maybe it was 67, whatever. They had a Google Drive of every book with a report, what it was about, what the content was about, and a quote where the content could be found, and an actual excerpt of the content. The excerpts you heard on Monday are excerpts that have been with the school board for 18 months. That Peggy Jones did not know this is beyond me. She was emailed all of this stuff, along with every other board member. How she didn't know, but Jackie Rosario, who voted no on these books, knowing what was in them because she read the emails like a diligent board member should, is beyond me. How could she not know? She knew. And so when you hear this interview with Bob Seuss, she's now doing her best to clean this up. And unfortunately, it's too late. If they had done the right thing in the beginning and gave each argument for the challenged books due process, and that due process required this at the time: the paperwork be submitted. That was done. The evidence was submitted. That was done. According to school policy, which was bound by law, because challenges to books or curriculum, the statute is 1006.28. Any citizen or parent, that's tax-paying citizen or parent, resident in the county is how the law puts it, can challenge materials. Free of pornography, age appropriateness, any one of these four things. Suitable to the mind. It's actually grade level and age appropriateness, because your age sort of coincides with what grade you're in. Suitable to the mind, meaning you wouldn't give a trigonometry book to a kindergartner. Okay? And in free of pornography, or not against obscenity statute 847.012, which is obscenity as it relates to minors and being on school property. We challenge free of pornography at Moms for Liberty only. That's all you need. You can challenge one of the four. We challenged the first one. Simple. Laid out all the evidence. At that point, they're supposed to put a committee together, a challenge committee, that reviews the materials and has a vote. And the committee had a specific makeup, including a parent on it. None of that was done. The committee was supposed to be in the sunshine. In other words, recorded on camera, everything. For each book, Jennifer Pippin, since she challenged them all, would have had 15 minutes of testimony. And then the committee would have had 15 minutes, maybe in defense of the book, according to what she put on the paper. Remember, she's challenging the pornography and saying the book is not free of it. Not if it's age appropriate. Right? They never did that. Instead, they convened a whole group of media specialists who went through all 156 books. Then Richard Meyer, who was the assistant dean of curriculum at the time, about 2 weeks before it was on February 15th, about 2 weeks before the vote in 2022, invited Jennifer Pippin to a meeting with all the media specialists, basically to present what they were going to do, their process that they engaged in, totally outside of what the policy was. The policy is number 9130 at the time. Has to be in the sunshine. They didn't do any of that. They basically created groups. They gave each one about 15, 20 books and said, read them all. And then they came up with their findings, and they did all this thing where they moved some from elementary to middle school, ultimately middle school. And Dr. Moore got up there on vote day and said, we were the most thorough county in the whole state, blah, blah, blah. But he did everything against the policy that was bound by statute 100628 in terms of a challenge. Because that statute requires the school system to create a policy for a challenge process. And there was one in place and they ignored it. In that challenge process, the people on that committee who are defending the school system have to read the materials to have a vote on it. If they had actually read these materials in sunshine, based on the testimony of the challenger, Jennifer Pippin, in sunshine, and the testimony would have been a lot like you heard Monday night. That's the thing. That testimony would have been a lot like you heard Monday night, because it would have been excerpt after excerpt after excerpt for 15 minutes on one book. You got to remember, on Monday night, people read one excerpt from an author in one of their books. Some of these books had multiples like this. There's a book called Push. That's one of them. Begins with an 11-page rape depiction by an adult man on a 14-year-old girl. The only thing I can compare it to is play-by-play call in a sports game. It's disgusting. No minor should be reading it. No adults should be reading it. Anyway, that's how it would have been done, and then they would have voted on it and decided from there to remove it. Most likely with that type of testimony, like you heard on Monday night, in a sunshine setting where the public can view, this would have been taken care of. But instead it turned into a political football. The process was politically manipulated, got taken over by the administrative bureaucracy. If you watch the last hour of the meeting, or right after, I'm sorry, not the last hour, but right after the public comment, there was a break of 10 minutes, and you come back and Dr. Gene Posca, the newly elected board member who replaced Mara Schiff, called for a vote. He demanded an action item. And there was discussion about that. He can do that. He can ask for a vote. And his vote was to remove these books that were read tonight, the excerpts that represented the books that were read. And you realize, because it was done in the sunshine at the business meeting, everything was exposed. This didn't have to happen. This didn't have to happen at all. And now she's claiming this new law makes them illegal. No, this new law allows the opportunity for evidence to really be heard. That's it. Puts it all out in the open. It lets people know what you've been doing for the last 18 months. It's truly remarkable what happened. Truly remarkable. So I'm really proud here to be with Moms for Liberty as policy and media specialist, and working alongside Jennifer Pippin and all the other people on our team, and particularly the parents, the grandparents, and the community citizens who came out in bravery and just read these things. There were people using initials for foul language because it was hard enough for them to read it, and they just couldn't take it all the way there. It just totally tormented their heart while they were doing it. Over and over again, when things were being read, I saw people just turning away in like horror and disgust. Like, I can't believe I just heard that. And we're allowing kids to just have unfettered access to this. Terry Berenborg, vice chair, said something interesting. She said that, I thought some of these books were removed. No, you voted for them, Ms. Berenborg. You did. They hadn't been removed. And they didn't need a permission slip either. And if they did, it hasn't been managed well. There are 4 books from the original decision, 4, that are literally in the high school libraries. I don't know which. I believe 4 of them are in Vero Beach High School, and I don't know how many are in Sebastian River. But anyway, they're behind the counter, like pornographic magazines like Hustler. I call them the brown bag books. One of them was read on Monday. I thought it was Tricks, but it's actually a title called Crank. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So we have the brown bag permission slip books. There are 4 of them. Now there are 3 because one just got tossed because of what happened on Monday. All in all, 30 books. There's still a lot more to be challenged. And I think it'll happen. But do not be fooled by this interview that Dr. Rushmore, Peggy Jones said. Doc Rushmore, It's our name for her. Hat tip John Karapi over at TGI Now. Do not be fooled. This was an embarrassment to a decision they made 18 months ago. A decision whose process is currently in civil litigation for the possibility of violations of sunshine law. Regardless, if they remove all these books, that's great. If they, but don't let Doc Rushmore hide what she's doing. She launched a campaign last week. Big article in 32963 written by the Mr. McNulty and his take on it. I mean, we're only calling her Doc Rushmore because he said that she's on the Mount Rushmore of education. And it was his huge profile. And it was on the African American history. And I'm going to get into that some later down the road. She's trying to get back to that. But in reality, she voted for these things originally to be put back and did not do the research required to make a sound decision. And essentially, the parents and grandparents and community members here in Indian River County brought that evidence to her on Monday night and brought it to the whole board on Monday night and presented it in a very First Amendment styled fashion. And as awful as it sounded, it was the sound of victory. And Moms for Liberty will always continue to do that here in Indian River. So with that, I'm going to let you go. Y'all have a good evening, a good day, a good morning, and a good afternoon. Peace.